Bitcoin is forming a very concerning pattern on the charts, and I must say I'm a little bit scared. If we take a look here, what we can see is we're forming a rising wedge on the Bitcoin chart. And if this plays out to the downside, it could get ugly for Bitcoin. Traditionally, this is a bearish pattern, but there are other levels that we've been paying attention to outside of this range. Now, the most important level that we need to hold here is between 86.5 and 87.5K. If we can hold these levels, as I've been discussing, the next target would be all the way up to $92,000. But as we've been struggling here, I'm a little bit worried that this will ultimately form the rising wedge and we will fall below this level. Now, the immediate levels of support, if we are to break down from here, are first of all the weekly, which as we can see this weekly open, we wicked to this level a few times already over the past few days, and it's trying to hold as support. The next and all important level would be down to the 84K region. And there's two reasons for that. One is because it coincides with the monthly open, and two, it coincides with the CME gap that we have yet to fill. So perhaps we come back here and hold this level as support if this range up here does not hold and continues to act as resistance. It's a tough battle at the moment. We've just been bouncing around this level over the past 3 days now, and it does make me a little bit concerned from a technical perspective. Not only that, but if we take a look at the S&P 500, since breaking above the 200-day moving average once again, we have broken down and now we're seeing a little bit of a relief bounce. But until we can break back above this line and hold it as support, crypto will struggle in my opinion. We need to reclaim this level because right now, Bitcoin and stocks are heavily correlated, especially with all of the tariff uncertainty. Speaking of uncertainty, if we take a look at the gold chart, what do you see? We just keep on ripping higher. And while most people in the crypto space say that gold and Bitcoin are heavily correlated, it's not always the case, especially when we have these kinds of market environments. What we can see here is that we just put in a new all-time high since we came back down for a little bit of a retest to pop back above. So pay attention to this chart because if gold keeps on ripping higher, it means that market participants are flocking to safe havens. And as I've said over and over again on the channel, I still don't think that Bitcoin is globally seen as that safe haven. It may be for us in the crypto space, but overall, I still think we have a few more years to go before Bitcoin can actually be seen as a safe haven. And because of that, it still should be treated as a risk asset. If Bitcoin bleeds, the rest of the crypto market will bleed. If stocks bleed, stocks will naturally impact crypto, but gold is still the safe haven. If this continues to rip higher, I am still bearish. Now you might be asking, okay, why did I talk about potentially longing Bitcoin in yesterday's video? That would be only if we can confirm and hold this level as support. Until then, and until we get that confirmation, I have still been bearish. And as I said over and over and over again, the trend is still very much bearish for Bitcoin. Do not ignore this fact. A lot of people are saying that we will just get an immediate reversal, but one, there are tons of worrying signs, and two, we have yet to reclaim some very important levels. So don't go blindly long. Of course, in the short term, you can always trade the price action level by level, and that's why I talk about longs and shorts. But in the more medium term, this is still very much a bearish trend, and we have those important levels to reclaim if we are to move higher. Now, the bullish case scenario that I wanted to present you with is what we've been discussing on the channel, but I can see another analyst here. The reason why I picked this guy out is because he tends to be extremely bullish on X. He's pretty well known, but what you can see here is his price target for an all-time high for Bitcoin, and his caption here says, patiently waiting for the reclaim. New all-time highs come quickly once that happens. And what he's referring to is this range over here, which is right below the 91.8K level that I've been talking about on the channel. And to be honest, I do agree with him. If we can come back above this level, 91.8K, hold it as support as we've done several times in this previous range, it would be very bullish for Bitcoin, and an attempt to make a new all-time high would be more and more probable. That reminds me, if you'd like to trade crypto, make sure to click the first link in my description down below. It brings you directly to weeks where you can earn a 50% deposit bonus. That means that if you deposit $2,000 to your account, you get $1,000 back for trading purposes. I also have an alternative exchange if you don't want to use weeks, and that is BidFi, another very solid exchange, and they're currently offering a 15% 15% cash back on your deposits. All you need is an email and a password to sign up. These are both excellent exchanges, and it's where I make most of my own trades. Now, before we get into the news, I did want to share a thought with you, and this is talking about the Ethereum against Bitcoin chart. If you guys have been following me, you know I've talked about this chart a lot in the past. It's been a while since we covered it, but this time I would like to cover it with net liquidity. As we can see on the chart below, net liquidity has been making lower highs and lower lows. And until this trend can change, I don't think that Ethereum will be able to reverse against Bitcoin. A lot of people continue to dunk on Ethereum, but as I've been saying, this underperformance is likely due to monetary policy and nothing else. So until net liquidity can start moving higher, I don't foresee this to turn around. Now, you might not believe in Ethereum, but the reason why this is so important is because Ethereum still determines how the rest of the altcoin market can sustainably perform. Of course, there's always some select outperformers here and there, and a lot of people will be shilling you these different coins. But the reality is, for us to have a sustained uptrend for altcoins, we need to see net liquidity break out, and this would likely fuel ETH Bitcoin to break out as well, dragging the rest of the altcoin market with it. And I will continue to lean on the fact that Bitcoin dominance will likely increase. As we've been seeing, we talked about this for a very long time, but I really think that this wick will get filled unless monetary policy changes sooner rather than later. So, outside of the charts, let's talk about how tariffs are impacting the price action. First of all, we have Mexico's president that came out and said, we are going to give an integral response to tariffs after April 2nd. And that's likely why the markets are continuing to get spooked, and this hasn't been the strongest of bounces for stocks and crypto. There is still a lot of uncertainty going into April 2nd. Some people would think that April 2nd will mark the bottom and that we can just rally on afterwards once all of Trump's tariffs are in place. But I would beg to differ because I still think that there will be a ton of uncertainty in the market. And to give you some more updates on the tariffs, we also saw the president of France coming out and saying that Europeans will respond by reciprocating. We also saw that Trump came out yesterday with his 25% tariffs on automobiles not made in the US, as we can see over here, and this impacted the market significantly. First of all, we saw immediately that auto stocks tanked today after Trump imposed his tariffs. The Ford shares were down 1.6%, General Motors down 9% in a day. That's pretty significant for the stock market. We also saw Ferrari come out and say that they were going to impose a 10% increase in the price of all remaining Ferrari models in the US. So these tariffs are really impacting the broader market. And here's something else that's pretty interesting. Since Trump took office, Hong Kong stocks up 17%, Chinese stocks up 3%, US stocks down 4%, and Bitcoin down just under 16%. So this is not looking good, but this does align with what Trump has been trying to do, and he said that there will be a lot of pain in the short term for that medium to long-term gain. Guys, we're still in the short term here, which is why I also think that it's more than likely that the Bitcoin price will roll over if we can't hold this level as support. Right now, it's looking like it's trying to battle it out and hold that level, but until we get that confirmation, I won't be going long. This is the most difficult battle that we've had for Bitcoin in a very long time. Let's see how it plays out. As traders, we can only react to what the price action is giving us, and right now, it's trying to break above this range. I will keep you updated in all of my videos, so make sure to tune in, make sure to subscribe. I'm here every single day reporting on the markets for you. Something else that I want to wrap this video up with, Ethereum. We can still see that the ETF flows are negative, marking more outflows than inflows. Naturally, with what we just discussed with monetary policy and how it's affecting Ethereum and the broader altcoin market, it makes sense. But what we can also see is that it does affect retail. There is literally no Ethereum interest coming from retail. As we can see on Google Trends, we're pretty much at all-time lows, below the 2017 peak, well below the 2021 peak. I do think that this will turn around as monetary policy shifts, but we just need to be patient here. And to wrap up this video, let's take a look at the liquidation heat maps. Now, if you're a bull, this is very positive. What we can see here is that there's a ton of liquidity to be grabbed below $90,000, which would suggest to me, if you're going long, that we could come up here, grab this liquidity before moving lower. It's always hard to tell in these kinds of market conditions, but overall, even if I change the time frames, what we can see is that most of the liquidity is to the upside. So perhaps we grab that liquidity before we move lower. Looking at Bitcoin once again as we wrap up this video, we really want to hold this level as support, the orange box. Apologies for my chart here, it got a little bit messy, but yeah, this is the key level that we need to look at. A lot of resistance could probably be found around 91.8K if we can muster up enough strength to get the move to this level, grab the liquidity, and then potentially move on lower. If you're more of a weekly trader, as we can see, still very much a downtrend for Bitcoin. But of course, in the short term, we can still get these bounces, which could likely see a lot of profits if you're trading them. And that sums up today's video. There's still a ton of uncertainty in the market ahead of Trump's tariffs coming on April 2nd. Some people think that it will provide a lot of clarity as the tariffs come out, and others think that we will see some more downside and more overall uncertainty in the market. If you're trading this price action, make sure you don't get chopped up. As always, you can join me on Weeks or BitFi, the top two links in my description where I make most of my crypto trades, and I'll keep you updated in tomorrow's video. Hope you enjoyed the content. See you then.